Prison is an unusual place. It's almost like the Twilight Zone, where the things that you think can't happen actually really do happen, and the things that you think would never happen actually really do happen. Case in point, the time when I was in prison and I realized that men could have babies, I was totally surprised. I didn't even know this was a thing. So a dude told me, see that dude right there? And when I was in prison, put me again. I said, yeah. He said, well, that's a punk. I said, okay, I could see it. Dude had feminist mannerisms and he was trying to make himself look like a woman. Face was shaved. He had, some kind of fake makeup on. He walked kind of feminine. He talked feminine, but you could see he was clearly a man. And back in the 90s, they didn't play that, stuff that they have today with the woke ideologies where you have to put someone who identifies as a woman into a man's prison. A man was in a man's prison no matter who he thought it was. They had dudes in prison who thought they was dogs. They still went. They didn't go to the kennel. They didn't go to the SPCA. They went to a men's prison, even though they thought they were dogs. Some of them acted like dogs, but some of them got treated like boys. You know what I mean? So if you was going to pretend like you was a dog, you better be a dog. Some of them just go up there and they pretend like they crazy, but they really ain't crazy. Like Night War Shorty Black from the Ghetto, a.k.a. Pimp Shorty, told me about Leroy. You can go watch my video about Leroy. I'll put a link to it. Actually, I'll put it at the end of this video. I'll put a link to Leroy. That was the dude who was special needs and they were still trying to take his booty. So if you go pretend like you crazy and pretend like you're a dog, you better be a dog. Anyway, the dude told me that this dude was having a poo baby. He was basically pregnant with a turd baby. He said, yeah, that... Stop. I know this sounds crazy, but how do you think I am as a 19-year-old inside the Louisiana prison system? And I'm seeing all these dudes who are dudes, but they got turned out because they were scared to fight. That's why I always say in my videos, just fight. Even if you can't fight, just get beat up. In Louisiana, there ain't no gangs like California that's going to put you under your wing. If you find a Snickers bar on your bed in Louisiana, that means you are targeted as somebody who's trying to get you to be turned out. In California, your race, the white boys, the white dudes, or the Spanish dudes, or the black dudes, whoever you belong to, if you find a care packet on your bed, that's your people looking out for you. They like, we're going to look out for you. Ain't nothing going to happen. We're going to roll together. You got to put in work, but you're going to roll with them. In Louisiana, if you find a Snickers bar underneath your pillow, you are targeted. Somebody wants to make you their prison wife. So this punk was pregnant with another dude's turd baby. That's what they told me. And I'm like, I'm thinking he's joking. He's laughing. He's like, yeah, don't let so-and-so, which we're going to say the dude, we're going to pretend like the dude. I'm not going to say the punk's real man's name. So we just going to call him Tire Shop. So he said, look, don't let Tire Shop hear you laughing about his baby. He thinks that punk is really having a baby. Now, everybody knows it ain't nothing but a turd baby. I said, so what is a turd baby exactly? He said, well, man, and this is the way the dudes explained to me. He said, men can't get pregnant. So they just say that they're having a turd baby. And so he said 9 times out of 10, the baby is going to be born prematurely and is basically going to be like a miscarriage. I said, what? I said, I'm looking and I'm like, are you serious? He's like, no, I'm serious. He said, it's a miscarriage. I said, a miscarriage? I said, how that happens though? But I said, men don't have reproductive systems. He said, yeah, I know that. But in prison, they try to make it seem as much of as a normal relationship as it can be. So it's like you really got a wife. I said, all right, I got you. And now I'm starting to think to myself as I'm laying in my bunk, I'm like, how in the world did I wind up in here? See, this is the stuff that ain't nobody rapping about in the rap videos. They not telling you this part of living the gangster life. They only tell you the stuff that makes you feel like you on top of the world, having fun, feel good, getting loaded, all that stuff. Hanging with your crew. They don't tell you you're going to wind up in an adult prison with a bunch of psychotics who think that men can have turd babies. That's right. They're not going to tell you that. So anyway, a couple of weeks go by and the punk is on the toilet and starts crying. Inside the dorm, starts crying. And Tire Shop goes up to his punk and he's consoling his punk. And they look in the toilet and they flush the toilet. They all standing around like they got some kind of chant going on. They grieving the baby. So they eventually flush the turd, which is the baby, down the toilet. So the turd baby gets, I guess, like a Viking funeral, sent down the water, except they didn't put it on fire. They just flushed it. They call it feed the fish. So they fed the turd baby to the fish. Now, I know this sounds crazy, but I'm saying this to say that prison is an insane place. Now, can I drag these stories on? Sure. But what is there to say? There are men in prison, and some of these dudes are getting out. Some of them got children. Some of them are going to get out and find a real wife. And they were playing this make-believe stuff in prison. They're off the rocker. These people have mental health issues. If you even play and you're 30 and you're 40 years old, even in your 20s, and you playing like a man can get pregnant with a poo baby, and you buying into this and you playing into, I never played into it. I just stay away from the people. I avoid them, ignore them, don't talk to them, stay away from them. That's the best thing you could do. And if the punk tries to come at you and you find a Snickers bar on your pillow, just fight. Don't let nobody give you no turd baby, okay? Don't let that happen. Stand up for yourself. This is the reality of prison. In Louisiana prisons, people have mental health issues. They're all over. I've seen them all. You can go watch some of my prison nickname videos. They got some crazy people. They got people who think that they are all kind of things that they're not, right? They talk to themselves. They mumble to themselves. They cut themselves. They bite themselves. They rub feces all over themselves. Now, are all prison punks psychotic? Like the one who thought he/she was pregnant with a poo baby? No, not all of them are. Some of them are just punks. That's it. You know, I've talked to punks in prison who were in their right mind. That's just what their preference was, right? But there was also some in there who were really crazy. They got crazy people in prison. Now, see, there's a lot of dudes who go up there and they want to act like they're going to get a turd baby because they think if they act crazy, that's kind of going to be like a badge of leave me alone because people will think they're crazy. If you're crazy in prison and you're claiming to be crazy, you better be crazy. Because the one thing about prison, you're around a lot of alpha males and somebody's going to test you to see if you're really about what you acted like. Now, I've seen dudes who were really crazy where people would go to mess with them and it was probably the worst decision they made. They beat the dude up. The one who was acting crazy couldn't fight, but he was really crazy. So every time they would see him, he would throw their food, he would fight him, he would attack. I mean, it's better just to leave him alone because the dude's psychotic. But I've seen some people act like that and they get slapped in the face and they don't do nothing because they're really not crazy. They don't do nothing but fold up and eventually get impregnated with a poo baby. Don't do that. Don't be in prison. Don't go to prison and get impregnated with somebody's, poo baby. Don't be that. You don't want to have a miscarriage on the toilet and you're really not having one. It's just, you just constipated or you just had diarrhea and that's just poop. You just ate too many of them Snickers bars that was underneath your pillow. You got to be wise and stand up and fight. It's just a fight. What's the big deal? Just get beat up. It's better to get beat up than to be a punk. Fighting is not that bad. I'm telling you, most fights in prison don't go to the next level. Some of them do. I've seen dudes get down and blades get pulled, dudes get stabbed, a couple people got unalived. So that stuff does happen. But usually that stuff is more extreme and it's usually between, somebody who got played either real bad and they wasn't going to have it happen. So they stood up for themselves, or it was two gangsters against each other. And, when two gangsters get against each other, sometimes one comes out good and the other one don't. That's the reality of prison. But anyway, Tire Shop lost his turd baby. They had a little grieving moment, And the thing about prison is the punks and the punk's old man, which is Tire Shop, they don't never stay together. They get separated. They go to different dorms, different prison. One goes home. If I'm not correct, the punk probably had a wife and kids out in the free world, but just went to prison and decided to live that lifestyle, but wasn't like that before they got to prison, and then I had to go home and tell his kids, look, you had a little brother. I had a little sister, I gave birth when I was in prison. I had to flush him down the toilet, the poo baby. And they're going to be like, yeah, mom, you got to divorce dad and we got to get away from him quick. We got to get him professional help. No, that ain't really what happens. The dude just goes back, acts out, remarries to his wife and acts like none of that stuff never happened. It's just a chapter in his life. It's a chapter in my life, but I talk about what happened, man. You got to use that chapter when you're in there. You got to think to yourself, eventually I'm going to get out. You know, more than likely, you're going to get out. There's a lot of people in prison who are just getting out. And you got to say, what am I going to do to make myself better so when I get out, I don't have to be worrying about what happened when I was in there. I don't have to be ashamed of nothing when I was in prison. I got my butt whipped a whole bunch of times. I got beat up, you know, and I did what I had to do here, there, and everywhere. And here I am today. And I'm living a better life. And I used to be ashamed of being in prison, but now I speak about it. I mean, I got a YouTube channel, The Pin and the Shank. And while you're at it, why don't you give me a like and subscribe to The Pin and the Shank, a up-and-coming prison channel where I'm not just talking about stupid, foolish things. I'm really trying to redirect our minds on how to live a better life. I have a lot to offer. Please go back and check out my videos. Give me a like and subscribe. And thanks for watching. And I know you're probably thinking it's ridiculous, the stories I'm telling. And sometimes when I go to tell these stories, I'm like, do I really want to tell a story? But I have a prison channel and crime-related channel. It's called The Pin and the Shank, right? So if I don't tell you what happened in prison, then what's the purpose of the channel? I got to tell you what's happening. I think the stuff I'm talking about is really ridiculous, foolish, and sometimes absurd and disgusting. But it doesn't change the fact that this stuff was reality, is reality inside the prison system. So I'm just telling you what's going on in there. So maybe you know somebody who's going through some stuff and you could show them this video and be like, you know, you ain't about that life. You're going to go in prison and you're going to become tire shops punk and you're going to get pregnant with his turd baby and you're going to have to deal with that. And you get Snickers balls, I need your pillows, by all kind of other predators who are seeking to make you their prison wife. Don't go to jail. Man, give me a like and subscribe. Let's get it.